Welcome to the Savvy Musician Show. I'm your host, Leah McHenry, and today we are in for a real treat. We are talking about something very, very important, and that is how to build a massive email list for your music career, whether you're going to launch an album or you're just building your fan base around the world year round. This is the most important thing that you can possibly do. And we're going to talk today about why that is and why social media isn't good enough, what you want to be doing, the best way to get emails, and how to nurture those relationships and what that process looks like in the business world, but also how does that translate into the music world? Because oftentimes us artists often see business and music as totally separate things, and they are, but sometimes there are principles in the business world that apply so well to music, and we just don't know how to make that work for us. And I can tell you, as somebody, a six-figure recording artist who doesn't tour, email has been a huge part in that success. I'm growing my music business month after month after month, and I'm like, it's been 3 years since I've launched my last album, and yet I'm making more money now than I was then. And there's a direct correlation to the size of my email list. So I'm really excited to be diving into that with you today. And joining me is Garrett Gamble. He is an SMA team member, and he's also a launch specialist. So he has a whole other perspective on building your email list and how we use that in like launching, say, an album or a single or anything. So welcome, Garrett. Thanks for being on the show today.
Hey, Leah. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. This is going to be really good and juicy. And Garrett and I, we're just going to like kind of hang out and talk like we normally do. We meet weekly and sometimes daily on different things we're doing in Savvy Musician Academy. So this is going to be great. Maybe give us a little bit of a background of what you do and what a launch even is. What's a launch? What's a product launch?
Sure. Yeah, well, as Leah said, I am a launch specialist. I help pretty much create events that, we're getting ready to sell some type of product or release some type of e-course or an album or anything that you're looking to put out into the world. We want to make it special and we want to make an impact and we want people to talk about it and share it. And there's a lot of very specific strategies that you can leverage to make the most out of those efforts. And that's what I've been doing for the past 5 years. I've been working with business owners and authors and dog trainers and just people that have gifts to share with the world and want to make that bigger impact. I help them pretty much leverage new age marketing techniques such as email marketing and Facebook ads and affiliates, joint ventures. All of that comes together at Central Station to create one big, what we call a product launch. And yeah, it's great when you can apply that in the music world. You get your fans excited about an upcoming song or an upcoming album that's about to be released, and then there's a big build up, and maybe you're releasing a music video like Leah's done, and you're gathering email list, and then on launch day, you just send out a big email blast, and you're saying, "Hey guys, it's available. Go like my stuff. Go download my songs, buy my music, share it." And it's just a very effective way of marketing. It's efficient, and you really get the most bang for your buck when you can pull a successful launch.
Why does email matter so much in a launch? Like, why can't people just like post stuff on YouTube and Facebook and expect a good result?
Yeah. Well, YouTube and Facebook have their own agenda, right? I mean, as we've seen, Facebook is wanting to make more room in the newsfeed for sponsored ads, and they want to push their own stuff, and which is understandable. And so they're going to decide whether your stuff gets put in the newsfeed of your fans or not. So when you rely on Facebook or YouTube solely or any other social platform, you're at their mercy on how much they want your stuff to be seen. When you have an email address, that baby's going straight to your fan's phone, right? It's going straight to the inbox. And that represents a direct connection with your audience that no one can take away from you.
Yeah, but is email even still relevant? Do people like, isn't this like ancient technology? Like, who even uses email?
Yeah, dude, it's completely dead. It's completely dead. No,
Not.
everyone, yeah, everyone uses email. I mean, really, everyone uses email. You have to have an email to sign up for a Facebook account. I mean, I guess you can sign up with a phone number, but most all of these social accounts that you're signing up for, you have to have an email to sign up for them, right? If you want to apply for a job or anything like that, you're going to have an email to receive, and communicate with people. People absolutely have emails. It's not dead at all. If you're sending crappy stuff, then yeah, people aren't going to open your emails. But if you have great intentions, you're sending good material, people are going to like hide in the corner at work to open up your emails, and they're going to be waiting to receive your communications.
Yeah, and I notice like we use it so much for transactions. Like, I don't know about you, but like if I order something off of Amazon or something, the first thing I do is I go and check my email and I look at the order to make sure that what I ordered is what I thought I ordered, make sure like everything's accurate and that it was the right amount. It didn't get double charged or something like that. That's the first thing I do. What do you think?
Yeah, for sure. It represents like an official kind of, and it's like an official communication, right? I mean, of course, there's some people out there that abuse it and send spammy stuff, but most of the time, like if you trust the sender and you get an email from them, it's like, okay, this is something I want to open.
Let's say I want to launch a new album or something, and I'm kind of starting at ground zero. I don't have any emails. How many emails do I need in order to have an effective launch? Like, what have you seen in the industry?
Obviously, the larger your email list, the bigger response you're going to get. But if you only have 5 email addresses, it's not likely that you have 5 million Facebook fans. I mean, maybe you haven't been working on your on your email list, and maybe you do have a lot of fans on social. But your ability to have a successful launch is not so much about the size of your email list. It's about the quality of content that you're putting out in your launch. It's about, are you sending emails that like are actually motivating your fans to go and download your music? Are you sending emails that like make them feel good, or are you sending emails that make you look like, slimy, right?
Can you tell
So,
me can you give me an example of what would be slimy versus motivational?
so if you were to say, hey, go download my new song because like I've been working on this so hard, and you start like just talking about yourself like in a way that's like not at all thinking about who's reading your emails. Like, I've been working so hard on this song, and if you put on a pity show, or you make it cheesy like, buy two get one free, and you don't, and there's no reason other than like pricing or things about you. People don't want to hear about you, honestly. They don't want to hear about us as much as they want to hear about themselves.
Yes.
So, if you say like, hey, I was really thinking about you when I was creating this song, and I want to take you on the journey, that I was going through when I was creating this song, where I got into this headspace, and I came out of a phase of depression, and I think maybe that this is able to lift your spirits as well. Let me know what you think. Like, people are going to recognize that you're caring about them, right? So that's something that I think a lot of people miss the mark on, is like, hey, buy my thing because it's a certain price, or buy my thing because it's going away on Friday. Yeah, those are great. You have, those are elements of a launch that you have to have involved in your marketing, but you can't rely solely on that. You really need to make a connection with people. So most of the time I see the slimy messages, like, they lack empathy, and they lack authenticity. They lack caring about who you're sending the email to. So,
That's really interesting. You know what's funny? The way you're describing like the slimy salesy emails, I get those from labels, like labels that I've subscribed to where they have artists that they're promoting. That's exactly the kind of emails I get from. They are in the stone age when it comes to marketing. Like, I tell you, I mean, there's some bands I admire on certain labels, and like I've subscribed to them on YouTube, and I get their newsletters once in a while about new announcements, and they are so behind the times. That's why I feel like there's no better person to market your music than you? A label, they pretend to do all the marketing and the promotion, but they are never going to send a personal email to your fans and explain like the reasoning behind, this album and this song and why I chose this title and the headspace I was in and the process and all these different things that make up what's like a personal story that people will relate to. And they're just never going to do that. In fact, they won't even categorize their artists into a niche. They only want to have general genres. So you're already getting way more broad there. But anyways, it's all about album out now, buy now, and that's it. And like you said, there's a time and a place to have some of those elements, like a call to action where you just tell people what to do. Buy now. We have to have that. We can't not have it. We can also tell them if something's going away. Like in a crowdfunding campaign, you have X amount of time to get this special bundle and then it goes away. Those are all elements we need to have, but without the authenticity, without the personalization, without the story and like the emotion and everything, it's just another sales letter, right? And that's not what fans are connecting to right now. At least that's not my experience at all. People need to feel a personal connection. And that's where I feel like having an email list allows us to build very personal relationships and really a community of people who are they all have something in common. They're all sharing something very similar. And it's been a very interesting journey. I've become very aggressive this year in building my email list because I have an album launch later this year, probably in Q3. And so because of that, I do want bigger numbers. Like you said, it's always about quality over quantity, but because I have some pretty audacious goals. I have a lot of drive right now. I kind of want to make a big splash. And so I'm being aggressive about building my email list. What have you seen be the best way to build someone's email list?
Yeah, totally. And let me add one point before I answer that question. I want to say, so a few minutes ago you asked, what is it like, how many email subscribers do you need to make an effective launch, right? And I'm not going to BS with you guys. The more emails you have, the bigger splash you're going to make, right? Everyone knows that. You got to start somewhere though, right? And it starts with the very first email address. And Leah has, been at this for a while, but there was a time when she didn't have the first email subscriber, right? And when you think about how you're going to get from 0 to 1 million, you just need to focus on how you're going to get from 0 to 100 first, right? And make that work. And like you just asked, how do you get people to give you their email address? Well, at the end of the day, it comes down to you're trying to build a valuable, mutually beneficial relationship, right? You're providing value to them and they are providing value to you at the end of the day. That's what we all want out of our human to human relationships. And email is just an extension of that. It's just a way to, for us to communicate on that relationship. It's not just like, hey guys, I'm creating an email list, enter it into this field. That's not going to get you guys anywhere. The people that you want on your email list need to give you their email because they're interested in something that you are willing to do for them or to give them. Again, they're interested in themselves. They love you, but they love themselves more, right?
So saying join my newsletter is a no-no then.
They don't care about joining a newsletter, right? I mean, that used to work in the 90s, but
yes,
it just doesn't work anymore unless you're like a superstar with tons of traffic on your website. And even then, they would benefit by promoting a very specific offer, something a very specific download or access to exclusive content. As musicians, there are tons of things that we can give our fans in exchange for their email address. They want to know how you're packing your suitcase when you travel. The super fans, right? The collectors, they want to know how you're packing your suitcase. They want to see a music video that no one else has access to. Maybe you give them early access to your album, so it's an early album listen party, right? These types of specific offers that appeal to your audience are the things that build your email list. And it's not just the fact that you have the door open, that they're going to give you their email list. You have to promote something juicy and specific, and actually provide value, because there are tons of musicians out there, that we're not necessarily competing with. But it's not just musicians. Like, our time, there are thousands of things per day that try to get our attention. So we, as marketers, as musicians, as people, are always really fighting for the attention of others. And if you don't have something valuable and juicy that like cuts through that noise, then you're not going to do any good building your email list.
Yeah, that's all really, really good points. And it's funny when we talk about methods and what we can give people for free, for example, in exchange for an email. I've actually heard people say out there that, oh, nobody wants to download a free song anymore. And I'm going to say, liar, liar, pants on fire. That is not true. I am gaining like hundreds of emails per week by giving free downloads away. I don't give it all away. I don't give away the kitchen sink. You got to have something left to sell at the end of the day. But I am definitely like right now I'm doing like, I have a campaign going that's running like on autopilot every single day, where it's called 5 days of Celtic metal. And what it is what they call an indoctrination sequence, which sounds kind of weird. Totally the first time I heard that, I was like, what the heck? What kind of weird cultish sounding weird thing is that? But all it means is that you're helping people get to know who you are, and hopefully they'll buy into your whole thing. Like that, hopefully they'll fall in love with you. That's all it means. They'll fall in love with you. They'll fall in love with your music, what you're all about, your culture, the whole thing. Because if you do that, you have a fan for life. So I have a campaign going right now called 5 days of Celtic metal. They opt into this thing, and every day for 5 days, I send them a new song. Now I have because I have, 3-4 albums worth of songs, I've got lots of material that I can still sell. I have tons of merchandise. I've got all these other ways I can make money. So don't give away the kitchen sink. You need something at the end of the day. Don't give away a whole album. That's dumb. I've heard people do that. Don't do that. But a song, let's say if you only have one album, one song, get your best song too. Like, don't save it all on the back end. You want to hook them on the front end, and hopefully they'll see what you're all about and love the other things you do. So consider what your assets are. Like, what do you have right now that you can afford to give away and still make some money somewhere else down the line? So for me, I can give away 5 songs, no problem. And 2 of them are like a YouTube video, right? So they can stream it that way. There's different ways you can do this, but I send them a song every single day. I give them story. I give them lyrics. I send photos, and I get them clicking on things. I get them to basically my goal with the 5 days of Celtic metal is I also want them to get in the habit of opening my emails every time they see my name in their inbox. Yes. So you're actually training them in a way to, I see an email from Leah, I open it. So I'll say things in the PS, like, hey, I can't wait to share the next song with you tomorrow. Be on the lookout for it, right? So that I don't just give them all 5 songs at once. Have you seen stuff like that work, Garrett? Like, how can we build more anticipation for people to open our emails?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, like you said, you don't just train, you do train them to open your emails by providing actual value when they do open them, right? And you can't just sell all the time. You got to do some things that you got to give some stuff away for free. You have to show them that, hey, I'm here and I'm investing in our relationship by putting value out first, right? And yeah, just drip. It's almost like you're creating in marketing. We call it the cookie crumb trail, right? You have to kind of leave some cookie trails out, the breadcrumb trail rather, right? And at the end, so it's a lot easier to eat one little bite of bread and then than to eat a whole loaf at one time. Whereas, yeah, at the end of the trail, there's a big loaf of bread, a big cake, or whatever, that is the transformation that people want to get. Maybe it's the whole album, right? But in the very beginning, people just need to know about you, and they needed that relationship. You need to build that trust, right? And there's people listening right now, as fans of SMA, students of SMA, and you guys receive email from us, and we can't just send you one long email with everything that you need to know, A to Z. Like, here is how you become a successful musician online, right? I mean, we have to drip it out to you because at some point you think back to day zero, the first day where before you ever heard of SMA or before you ever heard of Leah, you know, you had to hear something from us that got your attention, right? And maybe it's you right now. Maybe this is your first time hearing us right now, and this, you know, building an email list is something that got your attention. But SMA and Leah, you know, the SMA team, we communicate with you guys, putting value out first, and eventually there's a full, you know, follow-up program to that. There's a full methodology and a full strategy, but you can't do it all at once.
Yeah, it's all good.
It applies, yeah.
There's always more that we can send in value-wise as a musician. Now, here's where it felt tricky for me as a musician, because I would study this stuff in business and be like, okay, that all makes sense, especially when there's like a product that someone needs. So it's like they really need this to make it to the next step. Then it's like a need. But with music, it's weird because it feels like, well, they don't really need this. It's just music. It's just art. It's like nobody really needs a painting. Nobody really needs to download a song. How can I create so much value that where it's like they feel like they need it? This has been a challenge for me, and I think why I can't say that I've really cracked the code yet, but I'm having success with it. The biggest thing I can say so far is that it solves someone's problem, in that it's not so much about solving a pain point as it is a pleasure point.
Yes.
Which it's different, right? You're bringing joy to someone depending on like your genre and the mood. It's like whatever the mood is that they're trying to get into.
Yep.
It's odd. Now in launches, like let's say it has like beauty product. No, I feel like beauty products people feel like they need. But like, is there another category you can think of where it's not really a need, it's more of like a want, or it's not really a pain point but a pleasure point? Because I just find trying to build your email list, that's the tricky part.
I would say that you've done a wonderful job, you know, and under Leah, like you've created a culture around, and that goes back to the online musician, what you teach there, and why it's so important, because people want an escape, you know, into an experience. They're on lunch break at work and they want to like feel something, right? And with Leah and Celtic Metal, with that culture and that brand that you've built, they can like escape into a mystical Celtic world, right? And this is not, like you said, it's not a label making some type of third-party endorsement like, hey guys, we're here for the money and our artist has released an album, right? No, it's hearing directly from Leah, you know, the Celtic Metal Enya, you know, Evanescence mix, right? Like they're like wanting to escape from work and get into that. So experience, I think, is a big piece for musicians, you know, whether you have a country brand or you're a metal group, maybe you're a pop group, like that's why finding your micro niche is so important, right? I mean, you're the expert in that, but niche marketing is no secret, right? You have to find those fans and target in and double down on that culture, because at the end of the day, like no one really goes to download music or buy music because they feel like, oh, if I don't have this, then, you know, like you said, it's not a necessity, right? You're not going to stop breathing, right? But you are looking for that experience, and especially those collector fans, those super fans that want more than, you know, just the press releases. They want to like hear directly from the artist. So that's why I was saying, you know, earlier when we were talking about different things that you can do to build your email list, the access to the artist is big for the fans. Like they're infatuated with the artist, right? And you don't have to be super famous. You don't have to have millions of fans. If you follow the steps that Leah's put out in the Online Musician, if you do a good job and you actually follow the micro niche steps, if you build your culture and your brand, you're creating an experience on your page and through your email communications. And people are just going to want more and more and more of that. So if you say like, hey, I'm going to be doing a live concert tonight, through Facebook Live or whatever, or through some kind of live stream, and it's only for my web viewers, right? And you say you have to log in or just check in to access my live concert, my live show, and I'll email you the link, right? So put your email address on this page. I'll send you the live link, and then bam, your people are going to go crazy over a live show that they can watch from their laptop or from their cell phone, and they just gave you their email address for you to show them that, for you to send them the link to the show. And so I think it's all about creating an experience that they really want and feel that they need, and then holding just a little bit of that back and say, you know what, I need your email address for some of these things, because at the end of the day, like, even if you're not in this for money, even, which a lot of people want to make sustainable music something sustainable, but even if you're not in it for money, you need an email list to be able to communicate with your fans. It's just a fact.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you said creating an experience, this is something I'm really trying to experiment with more and more. Now, at the time of us recording this, I have close to 40,000 people on my list, which is really big. It's a big list for an independent artist. Like, it's probably a bigger list than most labels have, if they're not, like, if they're like an indie label. So it's kind of getting large. My goal is to hit 50,000 before my album launch. I'll definitely hit that. That's just a goal I have set out. And I think it's important that all artists create goals like, hey, get to your first 100, get to your first 200, and you got to start somewhere, like Garrett said earlier. But when it comes to having the experience, I have been experimenting a lot with gamification, and this gets a little bit more into some of the technical stuff. And I know a lot of musicians are not into tech, and I'm not either, but I'm telling you, if I can learn a little bit of this stuff, I know that you can too, that are listening to this, because I can't say that I naturally have a brain that's wired for like segmentation, and I know how to do all these tagging and different things in my email service provider. And by the way, you don't need anything fancy, like something like MailChimp or whatever, where it's free to start out. That's all you need to begin with. And in fact, even they are improving lots of things. There's lots of big brands that use services like MailChimp. I'm currently using one called Drip, and I like it. It's not as maybe visually simplified as MailChimp, but it doesn't matter. The platform doesn't matter. People always, I find, get caught up in what's the right platform. As though success or failure is going to rely on the actual platform they're using. That is not it. It doesn't matter which platform you use. They all offer very similar features and benefits. But back to this gamification stuff, the bottom line is, I'll give an example. For last Black Friday, even though I'm in Canada, we kind of do Black Friday online sales and stuff. A lot of the retailers do. And I was like, okay, I don't want to just blast my list with a bunch of sales. Like, how can I make this fun? How can I create an experience, something engaging that's not really expected? And I came up with like basically a long series of emails, and I forget how many there was, probably around 10. I'm just guessing, somewhere around 10 emails. But what I did, first of all, I prepared my audience ahead of time. I send them an email saying, hey, I'm going to send you a bunch of emails. So just so they knew it was coming and that they didn't feel like blasted and their inbox flooded with stuff. And I let them know that there was going to be some sales, but that I had kind of a fun participatory, is that a word? Yeah. That I had something fun to give them, and that if they made it through all the emails and they did all the instructions, because I actually had like little quests, like first of all, they needed to open every email. So that was number one. Number two, they needed to click whatever link I put in the email. And if they did that and they made it all the way to the end, I would release a brand new, never before heard song, and I would personally email it to them. So there was incentive for them to do stuff and incentive for them to open the email and click the links. Now, how do I know that they did all those things? Well, the email service provider tracked all of that. And I had some rules and tags set up that kept track of who clicked on what. So if they didn't click on every email, they missed a couple, they wouldn't get the song at the end. So it was really it was a little bit challenging for me because, like I said, I'm not super technical, but something like that worked so well. Like, oh my goodness, the open rates were huge. The click-through rates, we can talk about industry standards and stuff like that after this, but the click-through rates went through the roof, and I made like thousands of dollars worth of sales in a 1 week time span. And I was able to use, scarcity and urgency and things like that, saying, hey, this is ending soon. And by the way, each of these emails, I didn't just have stuff for them to click on. Like, I put images, I put a lot of thought into it. I had some help with my assistant. We basically created this little storyline where each email was like this story with an image. And then we would present some kind of merchandise in each email that was relating to the story. So it all made sense. It was fun. It was different. And I sent so many emails, and in the end made a lot of sales. So it was really, really cool. And I'll definitely experiment more with that in the future. Can you tell us a little bit, about like, what are the industry standards for like open rates?
To give a little bit of background, in case some there may be some stragglers out there that aren't completely familiar with what you do with an email list. We're not suggesting that you build this email list and then anytime you want to send an email, you like paste a bunch of emails into your like Google Mail, right, and send them like a big broadcast out that way. It's actually, like Leah said, there are software that you can use called email service providers. And it's something that enables you to store all of your email addresses in one place. And then when you get a good idea, you want to send an email, you log into this software and you say, hey, I want to send it to people who have subscribed, less than 7 days ago and clicked this certain button, right? And or opted in for this free music video or whatever, right? You can segment them and then send them specific messages. So there's this software, like Leah said, like it's not hard to use, but you got to spend a little bit of time figuring it out. Once you hit a speed bump, don't get frustrated and go watch Dancing with the Stars. Sit down and watch a few YouTube videos on these things, and you're going to like learn it within an hour or so. So it's really pretty easy to use if you spend a few minutes on it. And so like Leah said, open rates, like that's something that you want to keep an eye on. If you send out an email to 100 people, let's say that you're going to start small, you send out an email to 100 people and you have 3 of them open it, right? That's a 3% open rate. Something went wrong. Either a large percentage of your email list didn't receive the email, or maybe your subject line wasn't that great. And that's something that you want to keep an eye on, because if you're sending good emails to a small intimate list, you should be seeing 40 to 50% open rates and sometimes higher on a really small list, right? And then as your email list grows in size, you're getting people who have been on there for longer and maybe not be following you as much anymore, or you're having deliverability issues or things that you only get into at a larger size, and your open rate's going to fall down below 30% and maybe settle around 20% sometimes. That's important
to know, because even I wasn't expecting that. As I grew from 10,000 to 20,000, now almost 40,000, that I definitely have noticed that happen, that my open rates keep going down. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? And I just realized, what? That's just part and parcel with having a larger list. It's somewhat normal. And then something I'm starting to do is sometimes segment my emails. If I have something really important, I'm only going to send it to people who have opened my emails in the last 8 emails I sent out. I am trying stuff out like this. So not doing one blast where it goes out to everybody all at once. I'm kind of chopping them up a little bit depending on what I want to happen. And sometimes it's also a good idea to prune your list. And so like Garrett said, you can't do any of this with Gmail or Yahoo or Hotmail. You should never be using those for anything professional. You need to be using an email service provider, a professional one. It's actually like against the spam laws to be emailing people from a free service. Like when you just like paste a whole bunch, like 500 emails into your, Yahoo or whatever, you cannot do that. So you've got to be using professional service.
Your emails are like your own little marketing funnel, right? Where the more people that you can send an email, the more people that you're going to have open your email, means the more people that are going to click your email, which means the more people are going to see your song and hopefully buy your music and merch. And if you when we break down an email and what we want it to do, we focus on, if you want to improve that open rate, just focus on that subject line. You got to have something juicy. That's the only role of your subject line, is to get people to open your email. And that's it. Don't try to tell them about your offer. Just get them to open it. And then once they open it and read it, the only thing that you want them to do is take that action in your email, right? So once they're reading it, it's that you want them to click on something, to go like your Facebook page or go download your music, right? So just kind of like, don't try to do everything at once, how to get them to open and be interested in your offer just by the subject line, right? It's just focus on getting them to open that email, and then keep it short and sweet once, in the body of the email, just short and sweet enough so that they have time afterwards to click and check out what you're offering them.
Yeah. I can definitely say from experience that curiosity is where it's at. If you want to get people to open the email, don't tell them what's in the email. Like you have to, like if you tell them sale on from now until Friday, well, you told them everything they need to know, and they don't need to open your email. So can you give us an example of a bad subject line and a good subject line off the top of your head?
Well, a good subject line would be like, you're not going to want to miss this, right?
Right.
I'm not going to want to miss what? I want to open that and see what I'm not going to want to miss, right? Yeah.
Right.
A bad subject line would be, let me think. We don't write bad subject lines, Leah. I don't know.
No, but if you've seen them in your inbox.
I've definitely seen them. I've definitely seen them.
Well, I can give an example of a good one that has worked for me. There's been a few times where I have screwed up something in one of my emails that I sent, like it was like the wrong link or the wrong something, and I had to write a follow-up. And I put in the subject line. First of all, I'm like terrified that I'm going to annoy everybody, right? I'm like, I just sent an email. Now I got to send another one apologizing. So I just put in the subject line, I'm really sorry, or I'm sorry, ... And those open, oh my goodness, the open rates are like, over 50% or higher. Like it's crazy because they're like, you're sorry? Because it sounds so personal. And it's like, sometimes if I write it in all lowercase too, it sounds really personal, like the way someone would text you or something. And I've had huge open rates on that, and lots of like, heartfelt responses like, oh, don't worry about it, Leah, or whatever. And it's not a tactic. It wasn't like me trying to be tricky. It really was a genuine, sorry, I screwed that up. Here's the new link or whatever it was I had to fix. And so there's a genuine thing there. So, there's a fine balance between being savvy, be witty, and also be sincere and authentic. You have to have those two things. If you are one without the other, it just won't work.
Totally. As you're asking about this, I just glanced at my email just to see if I spotted some bad subject lines right off the bat. And I went straight to the ones that I haven't opened yet, right? Because those are the ones that didn't do a good subject line. And no hate on Netflix. I love Netflix, but we just added a comedy special for, a comedy special, . And, I'm all for like watching funny stuff, right? I want to watch funny stuff, but you just told me that you added a comedy special. I don't really care about a comedy special, Like, what is a comedy special? I mean, it's not specific enough. First of all, you just told me exactly what you did. So I really don't even really need to open the email because, like you said, I know what you did, right? It doesn't pique curiosity at all. And unfortunately, I mean, maybe a comedy fanatic would love to see, all of the new comedy releases that come out. But they're kind of just rolling the dice with us on that one, right? Hoping that that's going to interest me. A bad email subject line would be something that has nothing to do with the reason that your email subscriber is subscribed to you in the first place.
Right. Okay.
So right. So if they did subscribe to you for makeup tutorials and you're trying to tell them that there's a new gun video, like check out this new shooter, target shooting video. Like they're gonna be like, I'm here for lipstick, like
Yeah.
they're not gonna open it. So the
So what
relevancy has to be there.
Yeah. And so that makes me think back to like the fact that I, as an artist, have merchandise to sell. And if any of you guys are watching my career or you're watching like my shop, you're going to see that I've been adding all kinds of things to it, like all kinds of things, merchandise items, print on demand stuff. I do a little drop shipping. I do a little this and that, kind of experimenting. And I do some custom things as well. And one of the things I have had to really focus on is that I know people came for the music, but they came for more than that. And here's where what I think is so unique about Savvy Musician Academy and what I've been learning and just sharing as an artist doing this and then sharing what I'm learning is that this all comes back down to the whole micro niche thing and building a culture. Because something I've realized about building my music brand is that it's more than the music. It's bigger than the music. It's bigger than that. And that they're not just coming for the music. They're coming for the company. They're coming for friendship and these other things. And so you can start adding in things like merchandise and it's completely congruent and is an extension of the music. And so when I go to email my fans and I want to show them a new t-shirt or a new bracelet or a new, poster or something that I created, there's not a disconnect. I don't have to worry about that because it's so in line with my micro niche. It's so in line with my culture. It is an extension of my music. And so we've got to start thinking it's bigger than the music itself. And that's why I don't have to be worried that people are going to be angry or something that I sent them something new that isn't actually music. It's merchandise or something else because it's all part of it.
Yeah. A big piece of building an experience, like, what was it? Someone, they asked back in the horse and buggy days, they asked, like, what would you want to go faster? I'm completely butchering this thing, but they were like, what would you want to go faster? And they were like, how about a bigger horse? And, instead of a car, right? And the experience that we're building for people oftentimes like really has an impact on them because they don't know what experience they want, right? So you have to be the master creator of that experience. Like you said, just anything that you can do to enrich that experience for them, it's going to be a surprise for them. And if it fits with your culture, it fits with your brand and your micro niche, then you're going to do good by your fans, and it's going to increase that trust and loyalty, and they're going to want more for sure.
Yeah. There are things, really cool ninja stuff you can do. For example, something I do all the time is you can download your email contact list and you can actually upload that to Facebook and create what they call a custom audience. I won't get too detailed because it gets a little techie, but I can show ads to my email list. And so that becomes really powerful when you can do stuff like that, especially during a launch. You can absolutely bet that when it comes time for me to launch my crowdfunding campaign in the near future and then my album down the road, I will be showing ads. I'm going to be hitting them at multiple angles. So I'm going to send them emails. I'm going to actually probably create a little street team where I get some of my super fans even helping promote and everything. And then I'll also be showing ads to my email list specifically when it comes time for that album launch or the campaign launch, because I want them to see it. And you want to be top of mind, meaning like you said earlier, Garrett, they're not just being inundated with other music. It's all these other things. It's Coca-Cola. It's whatever's in the news feed. It's all these other things. So we need to dominate and almost be like omnipresent, where they open their thing, their whatever platform they're on, and they see us. We're top of mind. And so having an email list allows you to do even more cool ninja stuff like that. And by the way, I teach all of that in a program called the Superfan System. And it's a little more on the advanced end of things. I always recommend that people go through the Online Musician first, because really you need to know your micro niche. You need to know your culture. You've got to have your brand and image. You got to have that foundation before you ever get into ads or advertising or anything like that, or you will waste your money, I promise. And when you have that master that foundation, ads work incredibly well and you can make money. Like turns into a real business. So I don't want you jumping ahead, but I want you to see where this goes. I want you to see the future of where you're headed as you start to build your email list now. And by the way, just to give you guys an example, when I launched my last crowdfunding campaign, which is about 4 years ago, raised over $27,000. I was trying to raise 25, so I raised 27,000 from only 657 people. So it goes to show you don't need thousands or millions of people. And I think my email list size at the time was sitting somewhere around the 5,000 mark, maybe even 3,000 to 5,000. It wasn't very much. But through the campaign, I actually built my email list. Like I added a couple thousand new people to my email list through that. So that was really, really interesting. So do what you can right now to start building your list. So if you have your music on Bandcamp, for example, if that's as far as you've gotten, you could at least have one song for free and allow people to download it for free. Start building your list that way. Send your YouTube traffic. Say you have the same song on YouTube, put a link in the description, put a card in there that sends them back to Bandcamp where they can download that song they just heard for free. You've got to be using these different platforms to send that traffic so that you can build your email list. So at the very least, start doing that. And I think from there, you will see kind of a snowball effect. Is there any last words of wisdom you would have for people listening right now on what they could do to build an email list and rock it?
Guys, everything that we've talked about today, you showed up here to listen to this because you were interested in building an email list, which means that at the end of the day, you probably want to grow your fan base, to either share your music for free or to make a sustainable living from your music. And this is just a small piece of the entire plan, right? Just like we're advising you to give bite-sized pieces of value to your audience, we are giving you bite-sized pieces of content right now so that you can take this, go and do with it what you will, and make some value, make some progress in your music career. And, like Leah said, Tribe is absolutely that full plan. And then hopefully you advance, you get, to the ninja stuff and you get into Tribe Pro. But I would say that if anyone is sitting and they're not sure what you're doing today or tomorrow to grow your email list, and you don't have an existing email list, you don't know, you're not dialed in on your culture yet, you don't know what your micro niche is, or you don't even know what a micro niche is at all, you absolutely need to be in Tribe, guys. This Savvy Musician Academy is something that Leah has created a couple years ago to pass on what she's doing to real musicians, and it's really working, right? And there's people like myself and many others on the Savvy Musician team who are fully dedicated to your success.
There's a lot of great teachers and gurus out there. Like I'm friends with a lot of them, but I think I might be one of the only ones who are actually doing this for a living and actually make good money as a musician. I think that makes me very unique, and that I am in the process, like I make multiple six figures from just my music, not Savvy Musician Academy. That turned into a whole other business, and that's like a totally separate thing now, which is awesome. And by the way, I teach you how to do that because sometimes you don't know where these paths are going to lead. You might be, teaching guitar lessons one day, and the next thing you know, you have like a course on how to play a certain style of guitar. And the next thing you know, that's your bread and butter. Like, awesome. You can do that now. You can do that in the internet age. You couldn't do it before. So you never know where some of these things lead. But I am one of the only musicians that I know of who is in this space teaching musicians that is actually doing it. I'm in the trenches. I'm learning it. I'm actually, I'm making, this year it'll be six figures just from one stream of income. And there are 5 that I teach. So if I were you, I would jump into the Tribe today. Go to getsuperfans.com. That's one link you can go to right now to get started. I would love to be your mentor. I'd love to be your coach and share with you everything I'm learning right now. This is the year that the music industry is really starting to explode. Musicians are finally catching on that, hey, I need to be doing something with my music. I need to be upping my skill level in the marketing department. And that they realize, yeah, you know what? I don't actually need a label. I thought I maybe needed it, but I don't. I can actually do this myself. And I can tell you, there is nothing a label can do for you that you can't do for yourself. There's a few things that we can outsource, but mostly you can do it all yourself and get better results. You're going to be happier in the end. There's no feeling like at the end of the day, me, if I have like a $1,200 merch day, like I did the other day, that is like, holy cow, I can't believe I did that. Like, it is an amazing feeling to be like, my fans love this. They're loving it. And like, no label is going to give that to me. You know, I can just outperform what even they can do. So it's a very empowering feeling to do that. So I'm happy to share with you everything I'm learning, all these experiences, and just be your friend and your guide. I'd love to work with you. Any last parting words?
Join us in Tribe. Love to see you guys in there.
Yeah. Thanks so much for being on here, Garrett. We'll definitely have you back because this is really cool. It's been fun. So that's it for today, guys. Yeah. All right. Join the tribe, and I will see you guys next time.
See you guys.